Greetings, math students. It's Mrs. Marcellus in Gottlieb. In this lesson, we're going to continue our work with algebraic expressions and learn how to write them. Today's learning objective: students will translate verbal phrases into algebraic expressions by defining the variables, identifying the operations, and combining the mathematical symbols. When writing an algebraic expression, we'll be turning words into mathematical symbols and operations. The first thing we'll want to do is choose a variable to represent an unknown quantity. Then we'll determine the operation or operations needed and express it using mathematical symbols. Are you ready to try some, Gottlieb? All right, then let's begin. When writing an algebraic expression, we're going to be turning the words into mathematical symbols. We will not be evaluating these expressions or finding any type of final answer. Let's start with the expression $8 more than Ryan earned. The first thing we need to do is assign a variable. What Ryan earned is the unknown quantity. All we know is we have $8 more than that amount. The fact that we have $8 more than that amount indicates that this will be an addition problem. Let's break down the expression and turn it into symbols. We have $8. We can represent that with the number 8. More than is addition, and Ryan earned is our variable. In this case, I use the variable x. You can choose any letter that you want as your variable. Our final answer for writing an algebraic expression would be 8 plus x. Since we don't know what x is, we cannot evaluate the expression. Let's write an algebraic expression for 6 times as many goats as last year. The first thing we need to do is define the variable. The unknown quantity is the number of goats last year. Let's let G equal the number of goats last year. The problem says 6 times the number of goats, so that would indicate this will be multiplication. We have 6 times G. You can write it using the standard multiplication symbol, but that typically isn't seen in algebraic expressions. This could be misinterpreted as 6 times x times g. A second way to write this problem is 6 dot g, with the dot indicating multiplication. However, we typically don't see that either. In algebra, we usually see the number written right next to the variable, and that indicates multiplication. The algebraic expression is best written as 6g with no space between the 6 and the g. This would represent 6 times as many goats as last year. Let's write an expression for a batch of cookies divided among 8 people. The unknown quantity is the number of cookies in the batch. Let's let C equal the number of cookies. Since the problem says the cookies are divided among 8 people, we know that our operation is division. When writing division problems, it is important to put whatever is being divided up first in the problem. It is the cookies that are being divided among the 8 people. It is not 8 people being divided among the cookies, because that just doesn't make any sense. So we'll have to start with C. We can write it using the standard division symbol, C divided by 8. You can also write it in fraction form. C would be the numerator, and the cookies would be divided among 8 people, so 8 would be our denominator. In this problem, we have $7 less than Tabitha earned. The thing that we don't know is how much money Tabitha earned. So let's let T represent that. We have $7 less than Tabitha. This indicates subtraction. When writing subtraction, the order matters as well. If we have $7 minus Tabitha, we aren't going to get the right result. We have to start with Tabitha, so I'll write our capital T, and we have $7 less than that amount. So that would be T minus 7. Next, let's write an expression for half as many video games as Mark has. The unknown value is the number of video games that Mark has, so we'll let V represent that. We have the phrase half as many. If we take half of something, we are dividing it by 2. One way to write this expression is the video games that Mark has divided by 2. That would give us half as many. You could also write that as the video games Mark has over 2 in fraction form. Since every fraction is a division problem, we know that V over 2 is the same as V divided by 2. A third way we can write this problem is to multiply by 1/2. We can write this as 1/2 times V. We won't put the multiplication symbol in there. We'll just put 1/2 and the V next to each other to indicate multiplication. We know from working with fractions that 1/2 times something is the same thing as dividing that something by 2. Sometimes we'll have algebraic expressions that involve 2 steps. This one is an example. $3 more than 4 times the cost of a pretzel. We still approach this the same way. The first thing we need to do is to define the variable. The unknown value here is the cost of a pretzel. Let's let C represent the cost of a pretzel. The expression says we have $3 more than 4 times the cost of a pretzel. We'll need to break it down because we have 2 operations here. We have $3 more than, and then we have 4 times the cost of a pretzel, which we know is C. If we just had 4 times the cost of a pretzel, we know that would be 4 times C. So let's start there. However, whatever it is we're purchasing is $3 more than that. That means an additional $3, so we'll have to add plus 3. It is also okay if you wrote $3 plus to represent the more than, and then wrote 4C second, 4 times the cost of a pretzel. In our final problem, let's write an expression for a $75 security deposit and $90 an hour to rent a Jeep. This is something that you'll often run into in renting something. You typically will have to pay some type of one-time charge, and then you'll be charged by the hour. The security deposit you only pay once, but the rest of it will depend on the number of hours that you have the Jeep. That is our unknown value, so let's let H equal the number of hours. We have the $75 security deposit and, which would indicate plus $90 an hour to rent a Jeep. Since it's each hour, we're going to have to multiply to get that total charge. We can write our expression as $75 plus 90H to represent $90 times the number of hours we have the vehicle. We could also write $90 times H and add the $75 security deposit. Either way, you have an algebraic expression that represents the problem. Well, Gottlieb, what did you think? That was pretty easy, wasn't it? Hey, did you like my funny joke? Stand back, I goat this. Aw, come on, Gottlieb. I was just kidding around. Well, math students, that concludes our lesson, so bye for now.